This guy said it would. Other than that, I probably have to take it outside. I might take it outside a little bit today. At the back door.
Are we gonna have like a schedule for the plant?
Someone needs to. We're out of town for Hawaii. Somebody needs to take care of the plant.
Like
that plant's okay.
Like the plant needs X amount of sunlight every day, so we have a schedule up here of who has to take the plant out when. Like it's like a chore.
That'd be funny. Hey everyone, welcome to With That Being Said, a Rue Fitness podcast. I'm Bradley. This is
Sarah.
Boom, we did it perfect that time.
I was ready because last time you really threw me off when I just said my own name.
Last time. All right, cool. Today we're talking about training plateaus or just plateaus in general. And that's whether it's with nutrition, life, work, or working out. We want to apologize before we get started. Both of us are not having a not so great hair day. Sarah's looks a little bit better than mine.
I mean, I can put it up. It just is. I wish you could see how pink it is.
Mine is not the best. So I had an early training session today, and
the horror.
I didn't re-wash my hair. So I normally take a shower at night, and then when I wake up, if I got like a record day, I will wash my hair in the sink and then refix it. But today I just woke up and it was dry. I just put some dippity-doo in it.
Can I tell a fun story?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know why you had brought it here. Maybe it was to record something, but Bradley worked out and brought shampoo and a hairdryer from home so he could like wash his hair in the sink.
That's a true story.
And I had to get ready. I had a nutrition meeting, and I had to leave directly from Rue a few weeks ago to go to Drag Queen Bingo.
Hell yeah.
And so I had to get ready at the gym, and I worked out, so I needed to, like, dry my hair. And I literally texted Bradley. I was like, file this under things I never thought I'd ask you. Is that hairdryer of yours still at the gym? It was. It saved the day.
I'm pretty sure I've kept it here.
But if you have shampoo, like... You got it made. You can take care of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
No more bad hair.
The sinks are small here, though, so yeah. I've hit my head a number of times on the faucet.
Hashtag no more bad hair days.
So, awesome. Well, let's get rolling. Icebreaker today, Sarah.
When is a time, training, life, work, that you have felt stuck, and what did you do to get out of it?
Yeah, so I actually said this the other day. It's not like a particular time, but it just happens where maybe you feel like you're stuck at work or you're just not getting anything accomplished. And what I tend to do is create a couple of small tasks that can easily be accomplished. Mm-hmm. And that kind of gets the ball rolling for me in order to jump onto something bigger rather than just being paralyzed by, I have so much to do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of that, and we'll get into it later, but I think goal setting is a big part of getting out of a plateau, whether it's like a small daily goal or identifying the ones that really matter.
Absolutely. So comment below with when a time was you were stuck at or plateaued, and what'd you do to fix it, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Let's get into it then.
Yeah. So... Training plateau. I found this definition, training plateau. When applied to an exercise program, the term plateau refers to a sudden and dramatic decrease in the noticeable results of your workouts. This can be seen in terms of strength, cardio, a plateau in weight loss. And what really stood out to me was the idea of like noticeable results. Mm-hmm. Like just because you are showing up at the gym and not hitting a PR, it's not that you're not getting results.
Right. And that's kind of a weird one, and because I tell people all this all the time is like, so full disclosure, we are in our 4th week of this modified or reimagined 5x5 squat cycle that we're doing at the gym. And the goal is you pretty much work the same 3 lifts every week, or variations of the back squat, and then there are different percentages, and that's it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But each week, it's supposed to be a little bit heavier than the week before, which is called a progressive overload, or progressive loading. The problem with that is people's lives change from week to week, and so I've heard some people say, I've gotten stuck. You know, I've either had to go down 5 pounds or I stayed the same for 2 weeks and I can't go heavier. And here's the thing is, and this is hard to imagine for a lot of people, but
Right.
you actually have gotten stronger or progressed if the conditions weren't as perfect as they were for the first time, but maybe you had less sleep, maybe you had more stress, maybe you didn't eat enough, and you still hit that number. So, for example, Brad Scott, okay, he's a beast with the squat, and he was upset because he was doing the same weight as the week before, which was a shit ton. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to say it was like 375, 385. And he was struggling to hit it. But he did it. And I said, well, Brad, here's the difference. Okay. Last week when you did it at 3:30 p.m. after you had 2 meals in you. Okay. That's the normal time you work out. This time was at 9:30 a.m. You haven't eaten yet. And it's not your normal time to work out, but you still hit the weight. So that's actually a progression. It's not a plateau.
And also taking a step back and knowing the programming and the percentages and the numbers that we've been working. The mere fact that 2 weeks in a row, under very different circumstances, Brad, in this case, was able to hit probably about 90% of his 1 rep max for 15 total reps 2 weeks in a row under different circumstances, to me implies an incredible gain in physical and mental toughness.
Right. Yeah. And so I think there are definitely like training plateaus, and people go through them, and then we're going to talk about how to get out of that. But a lot of times it's not a plateau. It's just the circumstances around your working out has changed. And it seems like you're doing the same, but actually physiologically you're doing a lot better than you were doing before. It's just the situation around you is a lot suckier.
Yeah. And even...
That's science. Suckier.
Yeah, it is. And kind of what you mentioned before, and it just made me think there's this poet / street artist I really like, and one of his pieces says, give it your best every single day, and don't be so hard on yourself come nightfall. And I really like giving it your best every day. Your best is different every day.
Yeah.
And that applies to life, and because of that, your fitness.
And the same thing kind of goes for intensity. You know, like intensity is relative as well. And if you're giving your best and you're intense about your workouts, well, maybe your intensity that day is relatively the same as your intensity before, but you felt a lot better the day before or 2 days before that. So it's all relative to the circumstances in your life. So I agree with that. You give it your best that you can give for that day. And if you had a tough day at work, maybe your kids were up all night, crying baby, whatever.
Maybe your dog is growling at a leaf outside for 4 hours.
That happens. Or maybe your neighbor's dog has a doggy door and they're asleep, and I hope my neighbors aren't watching this. And the dog just barks all night and keeps you up. So that's that. I'll have to edit this out.
Bye. Thanks for playing. We'll see you next week.
But anyway, all those things factor into what you can bring into the gym. So if you do the best for how you feel that day, it's still giving your best.
Yeah. I think so. And I mean, kind of going into this next idea, when we talk a lot about this specifically here because of how much CrossFit we do, but when you start something new, you see a lot of results right away.
Absolutely.
And especially something with CrossFit when you're doing so many different things. You are running, you're jumping, you're doing gymnastics, you're doing all of these lifts, and you do a lot of other things too. Like we still do, like I've been coaching here for almost 2.5 years now. 2.5 years now. And there's still new movements that you find to put into programming, which is really great. But because of that, when something's new, of course it's a PR, it's a record, it's you've never done this before. So you're hitting records all the time, and you're learning your body and what it's capable of. And at some point, that's gonna slow down.
So here's the other thing about that too, and I think this is super interesting, is when most people find CrossFit, they're not 22, 23, 18, whatever. So it's not like they have a decade to build on this in their prime.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is their first 2 or 3 years, they're hitting PRs. Or maybe it might be first year and a half, 2 years, okay? They gain a lot of strength, and then they plateau. What they don't realize or they forget is as you are getting stronger, as you're getting fitter, as you're getting better, your age is getting older, and your body is wearing down. And I mean, even at like 32 to 33, it matters. 34 to 35, it matters. And so if you're able to just maintain that weight that you're carrying through, a certain amount of years, that's progress.
Yeah, and not just a physical or a physiological standpoint, but with age usually comes a lot more responsibility. Like a lot of people, maybe you're getting married or maybe you're not, but you're buying a house. So not only are you older, but now you have added stresses, added bills. Your job seems more demanding because your life has become more dependent. Like your lifestyle is more dependent on the money you make, and that all factors in.
So here's I'm going to just give a personal anecdote on this. My 1 rep max back squat ever, I hit 3 years ago, and I haven't been able to come close to it, and like my 1 rep max deadlift, I hit a couple years ago, and I haven't been able to come close to it. Now, the difference is I can hit a higher percentage of that amount more frequently and with ease.
Yeah.
I might not be able to hit that maximum load ever again, but I am stronger for more reps without exerting that much effort. And so that's kind of, I guess, what they call old man strong.
I had a conversation with Keith Bergeron about his squats yesterday, and he's like, well, my all-time max was this, but when last time I really tested it, it was this. And so the fact that I can get close to that lower number for all of these reps makes me feel really good, and like I'm actually somewhere in between, and that was progress. And he was proud, and not that he should totally be proud of it, but he wasn't comparing himself to that best day, that best number.
Right. Absolutely.
And when I'm sorry, when we do genuinely hit PRs, like usually if you look at that day, it's a pretty good day all around.
Right. Like, no, that's right. That's right. You hit a lot of PRs, or maybe a couple of days surrounding that,
Yeah. Or if people know they're about to PR, they're like, all right, I'm going to eat well tonight.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to get a good night's sleep. And when I wake up, maybe I'm going to stretch a little bit, and then I'm going to go to, like, it's planned.
Right.
But if you showed up to the gym and it was, you just said to everyone, all right, we're PRing our back squat, everyone would be like, oh.
Yeah, no thanks. Because you got to be mentally in it.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you are mentally in it and super excited about it, chances are you have prepared better for it, and you're going to get a better result.
Sweet. All right. What about some other plateaus?
Well, nutrition is one. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Emily got certified with nutrition or with precision, and I was interested in doing the same, but I kind of wanted to be on her end and see how it worked before I decided if I wanted to be on the other end and be a coach. So I worked with Emily, 4 to 6 months, and one of my goals was to gain muscle mass. I wanted to get stronger. And I had just felt like I hit a plateau. And from a scientific standpoint, every time I did an in-body scan, my muscle mass was not increasing. I had hit a plateau. So something that I think people don't really do when they've hit a plateau is genuinely track. It's really easy. My nutrition was good. I was like, I eat well. Why isn't this happening for me? But I hadn't actually tracked what I was eating and what that meant for my activity level
off of feelings
and my goals. Or someone might say, I think your intensity level in the gym, your nutrition, and your sleep are the 3 big factors in terms of your physical goals. And a lot of people will be like, I sleep 7 hours a night, and you find out oh yeah, but you wake up 3 times in the middle of the night. And people don't actually track that. So we had seen that after a couple months, I had very much hit a plateau, and I was like, I eat well. I don't know what the hell is going on. So I tracked what I was eating, and I was intermittent fasting at the time. And in order for me to realistically gain the muscle I wanted to gain and get stronger, I needed to eat a lot more. And there was no way I was comfortable with eating as much as I needed to eat between the hours of 12 p.m. and 8 p.m.
Right.
And so that was how I kind of broke through that. I started eating breakfast.
Right.
But like I never would have done that if I hadn't actually said, this is my goal and this is what I'm doing currently.
Yeah. I think
It's
that's
a
an
light
excellent
bulb.
point. And I mean, like, I'm there now. Like, I'm trying to eat 200 and I was trying to eat 260 grams of protein a day. I just dropped that this morning to 232 grams of protein a day. And that's still
That's a lot.
It's a lot. I think that's more attainable, though. That's like one more shake, you know?
Yeah.
But like Sarah said, like the hard thing to me, if I wanted to hit that 260 grams of protein originally prescribed to me, I would have to eat breakfast in order to do that. But I like the way I feel fasted, so I'm just not, you know.
Right.
And but you have to be able to realize that. And the other thing I was going to say, like, we're talking about plateaus here, and this isn't for forever. You know what I mean? So like some people reach a plateau, and it's not a plateau; it's just how you live, and that's perfectly okay. I think we're more or less talking about plateaus on the way to a specific goal.
Yeah.
Because it's, I want to liken this to the progressive loading training, where it's like, okay, I'm going to do a little bit more weight next week, a little bit more weight next week. Eventually, you're not going to be able to do any more weight. Or you're going to be strong as fuck.
At some point,
right?
Something's going to give.
Right.
Well,
like,
you will probably no longer hit the weight and still be strong as fuck.
Right.
You just
exactly.
can't.
Yeah. You can't say, but the same thing.
You can't get all the strength when you want to get all the strength.
Right.
It just doesn't happen.
And so I feel like everybody kind of reaches a homeostasis or where you want to be, and you can live in that zone. And that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about Sarah wanting to reach a certain muscle mass, or me right now. I have a very specific goal of gaining 6 pounds of muscle and losing 2.5% body fat within 21 days. So if I hit a plateau, it's going to be over a 3 or 4 day period, which is not ideal to anyone here listening. Okay, this is just an experiment that I'm trying out, but I'm tracking everything. I'm monitoring it. I'll know how to make the proper adjustments, and I've done this before, so I'll know how to get there.
I think with these specific instances, with both of us talking about nutrition or training, I mean, plateaus happen across the board, and I think ultimately the tool we're talking about, and that is tracking what is actually going on in our lives, is how you get through any plateau.
Yeah,
no matter what it is.
I absolutely agree, and that's the same thing that goes for training too.
Like if you're frustrated at work, you feel like you've hit a wall at your job, take a week to track what your days look like.
Yeah, and I mean,
what is actually going on when you're there, or is something else bigger at play?
This totally happened to me about a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago, and I kind of felt lost. And Emily and I had a conversation about, like, you know, what is your lack of motivation that's causing you to hit this plateau, or what are you not happy about, and things like that. And we kind of looked at the whole big picture. And for me, I'm a project guy. Like I like to have projects to work on, start things. I'm a starter, not a finisher. Emily's a finisher.
Just leave that out there.
We'll leave it out there.
Comment below on how you would finish that sentence.
I've finished some things, okay? But anyway, not everything though. So like I had to reassess like what I was doing, and part of that was really taking off with this whole podcast thing, right? And that kind of like reinvigorated me with everything else, my responsibilities at work and what I have to do. Just so I don't become complacent, which is also, complacency is different for everyone, but in terms of it being a plateau. But with the training, you know, I think it's good if you find yourself in a plateau, and I think some people might also consider that to maybe be a rut.
Yeah.
Like a training rut. Like
we're calling it plateau, but it's got a million names.
Right, it's got a million names. And I hear people talk about that all the time. I'm in a rut. And so when you're in a rut, and because you might be like the same every day and perfectly fine with that. And that's okay. But if you feel like you're in a rut or in a plateau, that's when you maybe want to come up with a new goal.
Yeah.
And the goals can be completely different. So something for me is like every now and then, I just need to have something that I need to train for. So right now, it is a body composition specific goal. But before, it's like, man, my like bench press is terrible.
Yeah.
So like I want to get better at bench press, and it's different. Like I did a whole thing with Joe Green, who's a U.S. Masters World Champion for 2019. Shout out to G-Force.
We should get Gerald on here.
We do need to get Gerald on here. That's a great idea. And so there we go. So I did like 6 months of sprint training with him. And that was just like a new type of thing that elevated my training, kind of got me out of a training rut, and then changed it up, Or if you're in a plateau with CrossFit, maybe you do our other program, Sculpt, or maybe you integrate boxing into it to where you're just kind of changing what you normally do in order to jump yourself out of it.
Yeah, I was talking to someone today that I think I don't know, well, she just was saying, I haven't been as excited about CrossFit, but I really enjoy Sculpt. And I was like, that's fine.
Right,
You're kind of in a CrossFit rut, but that doesn't mean you have to stop doing something that you enjoy. You just switch it up. You make a change.
You just change it up. So.
Yeah. So the last thing I wanted to round this out with is I think a lot of times when we find ourselves in a rut or a plateau, I know for myself, if I look back at kind of the weeks leading up to it, that I have found myself in a place where my days or my training, whatever, has kind of gone from something with a lot of intention to just mindless work.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be said for anything in your life. Like, you're like a relationship without intention is mindless work.
Mm-hmm.
CrossFit without intention is mindless work.
Hanging out with your kids.
Yeah. You can tune that all out. And I find for myself that usually when I do feel like I'm stuck, that if I take a step back, I have been treating the things that matter to me like I should, or I put the things that matter to me on autopilot.
Right.
And we've been talking about goal setting, and sometimes coming up with those big goals seems really ominous.
Mm-hmm.
But I was reading this thing about just some ideas for like setting an intention daily.
Yeah, my yoga teacher used to do this all the time.
Yeah.
Shout out to Bridget Martin at Grace Yoga and Pilates. She would always say, like, what's your intention for the day?
Yeah.
Or this class.
Right. And I won't go through all of these, but I read a blog actually about this. And if your intention is today, I want to kind of pay attention to my self-talk, I implement that by like actively using positive self-talk when I start to get tired or feel down. If I want to like test my capacity for something, I am going to look at the workout ahead of time and set a goal for what that is. So
right.
If I want to practice a new skill, I am going to maybe go slower in the Metcon so that I can focus on that movement in that hour. And I thought that was kind of cool. Thinking about, we talk about big goals all the time, but coming in and saying like, today, what do I need to do to get the most out of this hour?
Yeah.
This next task at hand.
I think also, all the things that Sarah's talking about are really specific. Mm-hmm. Specific. I always have a hard time saying that. Sometimes if I say it fast, it says Pacific, like the ocean. But I mean specific. I also don't say H's. Like when I say human, it's human, not human.
That's true.
So I got to work on that. But anyway, it's really specific.
Specific.
Oh, man. So anyway, I lost my train of thought. So I was asking people the other day in our circle, and I said, what are your goals, or what is one thing you're trying to accomplish before the end of the year? And saying stuff like, oh, I'm just going to eat, my goal is to eat clean for the rest of the year. I'm like, well, what is that?
Yeah, or
that's
they're like, I just want to maintain. What is main?
what is maintain?
What is that to you? Is
right.
Because maintain can be, I want to continue to bring my lunch to work every day, or I want to continue to show up to the gym 3 times a week. Like maintenance could mean anything.
Yeah, and so like when you say like eat clean, well, that's not a goal, that's an action.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the same time, like you need to be a little bit more specific than that. What are the things that you need to cut out in order to accomplish that goal? That specific goal. So
you said it.
Jeez. So anyway, that's what we're talking about here. Be detailed with your goal setting. Have it be
Specific.
measurable. Everybody knows SMART goals, So we want to be measurable. Jeez, I cannot speak today. Measured.
It's fine.
Specific. Attainable.
Human.
Yeah. So and trackable. So we want to do all that stuff. Awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I don't think so.
Great.
But just with the timing of this, we are currently between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we as a whole I think a lot of us expect great things from ourselves, which is really good. But I think a lot of us are our own worst critics, and this is a time of year where you need to give yourself some grace.
Yeah, and I also think on that, though, is don't become a shit show between now and New Year's and be like, oh, I'm going to start at New Year's. Don't dig yourself a 30-day hole.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Right.
But also understand that this is probably not the time where you're going to run the fastest mile of your life.
No, absolutely
But just
not.
keep showing up.
Absolutely not. Like I know right now I'm trying to hit this goal that I talked about earlier with the muscle composition and the body fat percentage. And I already know like I have 2 fancy lunches next week. Okay. Back-to-back days.
I got
holiday party this Saturday night. The Sunday after that, we got our leadership team. The Friday after that, we got our leadership team lunch,
yep.
Which I will be consuming beverages. And then I got like an ambassador party or a coach's party, and then Christmas, and then I'm off to Hawaii. So like that's like 6 days where I'm going to be a personal shit show. So I just need to like the rest of the time stay true to my goal.
Yeah, stay the course. You'll figure it out.
But that is the grace that I'm giving myself. So
yeah, it's once a year.
Yep,
Relax.
Absolutely. So, all right, y'all. That'll be a wrap. Hope y'all had a good time today listening to us. So
specific.
Holler.